diving into Vedanta today. Got a whole stack of excerpts all about how to really live this ancient wisdom. Not just, read about it in some dusty old book.
Yeah.
We're talking practical application, ready to get our hands dirty.
I think what's so fascinating about this collection is how much it emphasizes Vedanta as a practice.
Right.
Like a way of life.
Right.
Not just a set of beliefs that you kind of think about.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, but before we get all how-tos on this,
Sure.
let's do a quick level set, right?
Yeah.
Vedanta is like one of those terms that people throw around.
Yeah.
But what's the core idea here? Like if you had to explain it to, I don't know, someone who's never even heard of it.
Okay, so at its heart, Vedanta is a system of Indian philosophy, and it's all about exploring this connection between our individual selves, that's the Atman, and this ultimate reality, Brahman.
Okay.
Some people think of it like a web. This vast interconnected web where every single thing is totally woven together.
All right, I like that. I'm picturing that, this cosmic web.
Yeah.
But what these sources keep saying, Vedanta, it's not just about understanding the theory of that web.
Right.
It's about experiencing it.
Right.
So how do we actually, bridge that gap?
That's where they point to this 3-step learning process. Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana.
Oh, here we go.
Get ready for some Sanskrit.
Right. Gotta love a little Sanskrit.
Okay, so Shravana, that's the first step, and you're already doing it right now.
Okay.
It's listening to the teachings.
All right, check. We're 1/3 of the way there.
Right. Then comes Manana, which is reflecting on these ideas, really chewing on them.
Okay, got it.
And then finally, we have Nididhyasana, which is meditation, where you directly experience these truths.
Oh, wow. So just by tuning into this deep dive, we're already, on the path.
You got it.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Okay, but I gotta admit, meditation can feel a little intimidating, what if someone's totally new to this? What if they've never meditated before?
Yeah, and these sources actually talk about that. They emphasize finding a practice that works for you.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be one right way to do it. It could be guided meditation, mantra repetition, even just focusing on your breath.
Right.
The key is consistency.
Got it.
Even if it's just a few minutes each day.
Small steps, consistency.
Yeah.
Okay, I can get behind that. But let's be real for a second. Some days, just getting out the door
I know.
feels like a spiritual practice.
Totally.
Forget enlightenment.
Right.
Just get me to work on time.
Totally.
So how do we actually take this Vedanta stuff, all this cosmic web stuff, and bring it into the messiness of real life?
That's where I think the sources get super interesting.
Okay.
They're really focused on living Vedanta, through our personal practices.
Yeah.
And one example they keep using is about understanding Brahman, which we talked about before.
Yeah, that cosmic web idea.
Exactly, but it's one thing to, read about it in a book, but it's a whole other thing to actually feel it.
Okay.
To actually experience that sense of oneness.
I get that.
Everything around you.
I've had those moments, being out in nature or really connecting with another person.
Right.
But how do we make that feeling, that sense of oneness, more consistent? Not just these random flashes.
Well, the sources talk a lot about the power of self-inquiry.
Okay.
And often they'll use this question, who am I?
Oh, okay.
And it's not about coming up with a fixed answer.
Right.
It's more about stripping away the layers of all those identities that we kind of build up over time to get closer to our true selves.
I love that question. Who am I? It seems so simple, but it feels like it could lead to some serious self-discovery.
Oh, absolutely.
Do the sources, do they give specific ways to actually approach that question?
They do, yeah.
Okay.
They often suggest using it as a meditation tool.
Oh, okay.
So as you're sitting in stillness, gently ask yourself, who am I?
Okay.
But then just observe. Observe the thoughts and feelings that come up without judging them.
Okay.
It's about becoming the observer of your own mind.
I like that.
Which can lead to some pretty profound insights.
It's like turning the spotlight inwards.
Exactly.
Instead of always focusing on everything that's outside of us.
Right.
So we've got meditation, self-inquiry, big practices here.
Yeah.
But the sources also talk about living with this awareness in every single moment.
Yeah.
And honestly, that sounds a little daunting.
It's a big one.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
How do we actually do that?
So one of the key concepts here is viraja.
Okay.
which is often translated as detachment.
Okay.
But it's not about becoming
Right.
emotionless or, withdrawing from the world.
Right, becoming a hermit.
Exactly. It's more about letting go
Yeah.
of the need to control everything.
Right.
Finding a sense of peace in the present moment, regardless of what's happening around you.
Detachment.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, that's something I really struggle with.
Yeah.
That my mind, it's always going, worrying about deadlines, to-do lists, all that.
Totally.
So any tips from the sources on how to actually cultivate this detachment?
One that stood out to me is about shifting our focus from results to effort.
Okay.
So instead of getting caught up in, what might happen,
Right.
we can focus on just putting in our best effort in each moment and then letting go of that need to control the outcome.
So it's like focusing on the process, not the destination. Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense because I can control my effort.
Right.
But I can't always control, the results.
Right. It's a subtle shift.
Yeah.
But it can have a huge impact on how you feel overall.
More peace, a little more well-being.
Exactly. And the sources also talk about how when we focus on the effort, we often find more joy in the journey itself.
More joy in the journey.
Yeah.
All right. I like that. But it sounds like, with all of this, reflection plays a huge role too.
Absolutely.
Right. Like taking a step back and really examining
Yeah.
our thoughts, our action,
For sure.
our beliefs.
The sources actually talk about reflection as this bridge between knowledge and action.
Yep.
It's not enough to just, understand these teachings. You have to actually take the time to really think about them and see how they apply to your life.
But again, sometimes it's hard to even find time to breathe, let alone reflect.
Right.
So do the sources give any practical advice on how to actually make reflection a more regular part of our lives?
For sure. Yeah. One thing they suggest is just setting aside a specific time each day for reflection, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay.
And they also recommend journaling as a way to kind of process your experiences, gain some clarity.
I've tried journaling on and off. Sometimes it feels like I'm just rehashing the same anxieties over and over.
Yeah.
So
I get.
Any tips on how to make journaling more about, growth and less about getting stuck in those loops?
So one suggestion from the sources is to focus on specific questions or themes that are related to Vedanta.
Okay.
So instead of, asking yourself, what am I stressed about today?
Right.
You could ask, how did I experience interconnectedness today?
Oh, wow. That's a much better question.
Or, what actions felt aligned with my Dharma?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good one.
So it's really about shifting your focus from the mundane to the meaningful.
I like that.
And the sources also emphasize the power of discussing these reflections with other people.
Right. It's like we were saying earlier.
Yeah.
That shared Shravana and Manana.
Exactly.
Bouncing ideas off each other.
Yeah.
It's like having a thought partner.
Totally.
Okay, so that brings us to another, really key concept in Vedanta. Karma and Dharma.
Okay, there we go.
All right, karma, I've heard of.
Yeah.
It's kind of that idea, what goes around comes around.
Right.
But Dharma, that one's always felt a little more mysterious to me.
Yeah.
How do the sources explain it?
Okay, so karma is often understood as this law of cause and effect.
Right. Okay.
Our actions create ripples that eventually come back to us. And Dharma is about living in alignment with our true nature and purpose. It's not just about duty or right action, but it's about discovering what we're here to offer the world, and then living in a way that reflects that.
So it's about figuring out our unique role in that cosmic tapestry.
Exactly.
That's a pretty powerful idea.
It is.
But I think a lot of us are still figuring out who we are, let alone our cosmic purpose.
Totally.
So how do we even begin to uncover our Dharma?
Well, the sources suggest that self-reflection and self-inquiry are really essential tools in doing that. By understanding our strengths, our values, our passions, we can start to see how they align with a greater purpose. And then as we deepen our understanding of Vedanta and practice its teachings, we become more attuned to this inner compass that can kind of guide us towards our Dharma.
It's like the more we connect with our true selves, the clearer our path becomes.
Exactly.
But how do we translate this like really lofty idea of Dharma
Right.
into like practical everyday choices.
Right.
The source has got to have some advice on that.
They do, and they really emphasize bringing intention and awareness to everything we do.
Okay.
You know, like asking ourselves, are my actions contributing to harmony and well-being, both for myself and for others? And are they aligned with my understanding of my Dharma?
Mm-hmm.
It's about making choices from a place of consciousness rather than just, reacting to circumstances.
So it's like taking that mindfulness that we cultivate in meditation.
Exactly. Bringing it into our everyday interactions.
Okay. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
So we've got this foundation of
Yeah.
understanding.
Mm-hmm.
We're practicing meditation, self-inquiry, reflection.
Yeah.
But I'm still craving
Mm-hmm.
like some concrete, actionable stuff.
Okay.
What are like some things we can start doing today to really bring Vedanta into our lives?
I'm glad you asked.
All right, hit me with it.
Because that's what we're going to dive into next.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground already, kind of understanding what Vedanta is all about,
Yeah.
the cosmic web idea, that 3-step learning process, all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm ready for some of that like practical magic.
Okay. Yeah.
What are some of those like little shifts we can make, those
Yeah.
daily practices that can really make a difference?
One thing that really strikes me about all these sources is how accessible they make Vedanta feel. It's not about,
Right.
renouncing everything and becoming a monk.
Right.
Living in an ashram.
Yeah.
It's about finding the divine
Okay.
in the everyday.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about bringing this ancient wisdom into our world,
Right.
not trying to escape from the world we're in.
Exactly.
So cool.
And they really emphasize that it's a practice. It's a commitment to kind of weaving these principles into the fabric of our lives, building tiny habits that over time can create.
Okay. Tiny habits, consistency.
Yeah.
I'm all about that. Give me some examples.
Okay.
What are some of those habits that really stood out to you from these sources?
One that came up again and again was self-reflection.
Okay.
Really holding up a mirror to your thoughts, your actions, your beliefs, helping you see yourself more clearly.
Self-reflection, yeah, we touched on this earlier, but it's clearly a big deal
in
Vedanta.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it so essential?
I think, sometimes it can feel like just more to do.
Totally.
Right. But it's not about adding more to your to-do list.
Right.
It's about gaining self-awareness.
Okay.
So you can actually make more conscious choices.
Got it.
Through reflection. You can understand your motivations, identify patterns, see where you might be out of alignment with your true self.
Okay, so it's like a course correction.
Yeah, exactly.
For the soul.
Yeah.
All right, I like that.
Yeah.
But how do we make that a habit? How do we actually make self-reflection a regular thing?
Yeah, the sources offer some suggestions.
Okay.
Journaling is a classic one.
Okay.
It's like having that conversation with yourself on paper, but with more intention and structure.
Okay. I've tried journaling.
Yeah.
But honestly, sometimes it just turns into a list of all my worries.
Yeah, I get that.
So any tips on how to make it more of a productive reflection practice?
The sources suggest focusing on specific questions or themes that are related to Vedanta.
Okay.
So instead of, what am I stressed about today?
Right.
Try asking yourself, how did I experience interconnectedness today?
Ooh, that's good.
Or what actions today felt aligned with my Dharma?
Wow. Yeah, that's a much better approach.
Yeah, it's about shifting that focus
Yeah.
from the mundane to the meaningful.
I like that.
Yeah, and don't underestimate the power of discussing these reflections with other people, too.
Right. It's like we were saying before.
Mm-hmm.
It's that shared Shravana and Manana.
Exactly.
Having that, thought partner.
Yeah, for sure.
A friend, a mentor, even joining a discussion group.
Right.
Can give you fresh insights, some accountability.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, speaking of fresh insights.
Okay.
One of the key concepts in Vedanta is non-attachment.
Right.
Or vairagya.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of danced around this a little bit.
We have.
But I think it deserves a deeper dive.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially because I think a lot of our listeners are probably dealing with stress, that feeling of being overwhelmed.
Totally.
So what does it actually mean to practice detachment in our daily lives?
It's not about becoming indifferent
or
emotionless like some people think.
Right, not checking out.
Exactly. It's more about recognizing that true happiness
Okay.
It doesn't come from external things or trying to control every outcome.
Right.
It's about finding that peace within in the present moment, regardless of what's happening around you.
That sounds amazing, but also incredibly difficult.
It can be, yeah.
Especially in a world where we're constantly bombarded with messages about what we should be doing, buying, achieving.
Totally.
All of that.
Yeah.
So how do we even begin to cultivate that kind of inner peace?
One thing that these sources really emphasize is this idea of focusing on effort rather than results.
Okay.
We've talked about this before in terms of like stress management,
Right.
but it applies to detachment too.
Okay.
When we fixate on outcomes, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment.
Right.
But if we focus on just putting in our best effort in each moment, then we can kind of surrender to the process.
So it's like finding that sweet spot between action and surrender.
They're still taking action. Right. You know, we're still striving for things.
Yeah.
But we're not so desperately clinging to a specific outcome.
Exactly. And when we loosen that grip, we often find a lot more joy in the journey itself.
Right. Okay.
It's like we're opening ourselves up to the possibility of unexpected detours and serendipitous discoveries.
I'm starting to see how all of these concepts kind of connect.
Yeah.
You know, the self-reflection, the detachment,
right.
even the understanding of Dharma.
Totally.
It's all part of this like tapestry of living with more awareness and intention.
You're getting it.
Okay, good.
And speaking of awareness,
the
sources also emphasize cultivating gratitude as a key element of detachment.
Gratitude, that seems almost too simple.
Yeah.
How does that tie into something as like profound as detachment?
Well, it's all about shifting your focus.
Okay.
When we're constantly chasing after what we lack.
We miss out on all the abundance that already exists in our lives.
Right.
But when we take the time to appreciate the simple things, we start to see the world through a different lens.
So it's like actively training our minds to see the good, to notice all those like little moments of beauty and joy that we might otherwise miss.
Exactly.
And that helps us detach from that constant craving for more.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that true fulfillment.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from acquiring more things or achieving more goals, but from appreciating what we already have.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah.
It seems like something we can start practicing right now.
Oh, absolutely.
So what are some simple ways to bring more gratitude into our lives?
It could be as easy as just taking a few moments each day to reflect on what you're grateful for. You know, maybe keep a gratitude journal. Or make it a habit to express your appreciation to other people. The more you focus on what you have, the less you'll feel the need to chase after what you lack.
That is such a good reminder.
Yeah.
You know, instead of always looking ahead to what's next, just pausing, appreciating the gifts that are already present.
Exactly.
Okay, I love that.
And speaking of gifts, one of the most profound gifts that Vedanta offers is this understanding of impermanence.
Okay, impermanence, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Usually when I hear that word,
yeah,
it brings up thoughts of like loss and change.
Right.
Which can be a little scary.
It can be.
So how does understanding that help us with detachment?
It's all about perspective.
Right.
When we recognize that everything is in constant flux, that nothing lasts forever, it can actually be really liberating because it helps us loosen our grip on the things that we tend to cling to.
Right.
Whether it's, you know, material possessions, relationships, even our own identities.
Right.
So it's about embracing change as a natural part of life.
Okay.
And when we can do that, we free ourselves from that fear of loss.
Right.
And the need to control everything.
So it's about surrendering to the flow of life.
Exactly.
Knowing that even in moments of difficulty, this too shall pass.
Exactly.
That's a powerful concept.
It is.
It's like instead of resisting change, we're learning to ride the waves.
Yeah, I like that.
But some of those waves can feel pretty huge.
It can, yeah.
So any advice from the sources on like how to navigate those choppy waters?
They emphasize the importance of cultivating compassion.
Okay.
Both for ourselves and for others.
We've talked about compassion in the context of like action.
Right.
But how does it relate to detachment?
When we're compassionate towards ourselves, we're less likely to like beat ourselves up over our mistakes or shortcomings. We can acknowledge our imperfections and treat ourselves with kindness and understanding. And when we're compassionate towards others, we're less likely to judge or criticize them.
Right.
And that creates this sense of spaciousness and acceptance, both internally and externally.
Okay.
And that can help us let go of our attachments more easily.
So it's like creating a more loving and accepting environment.
Yeah.
Both within ourselves and in our interactions with others.
Exactly.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And it's like we're creating this softer landing pad for when those waves of change come crashing in.
That's a beautiful image.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it seems like compassion is something that we can all cultivate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Regardless of our circumstances.
Totally.
What are some simple ways to practice more compassion in our daily lives?
It could be as simple as, offering a kind word to a stranger.
Or listening attentively to a friend who's going through a tough time. Even just sending a silent blessing to someone who's struggling.
Right.
And remember, compassion begins with ourselves.
That's important.
So be gentle with yourself.
Okay.
Forgive your mistakes. And treat yourself with the same kindness that you would offer to a loved one.
Yeah, we can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
Self-compassion is so essential.
It is.
And speaking of filling our cups, the sources also talked about finding joy in simple things.
Yes.
As a way to cultivate detachment.
Right, because when we can find joy in the present moment, in those little everyday pleasures, we become less reliant on external things to make us happy.
So it's like rediscovering the magic.
Yeah, exactly.
And the mundane.
Yeah.
Appreciating the beauty that's already present.
Right.
Rather than always looking for
Yeah.
happiness in some future
Right.
achievement or thing we're going to buy.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. Those are all such wonderful reminders. Just like slow down.
Yeah.
Appreciate the gifts that are already present.
Right.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground on detachment.
We have.
You know, shifting our focus, practicing gratitude, recognizing impermanence, cultivating compassion, finding joy in those simple things.
For sure.
It feels like all of these practices are kind of woven together, creating this tapestry of inner peace and freedom.
You've beautifully captured the essence of it.
Okay, good.
And it's important to remember that detachment, it's not a destination.
Okay.
It's a journey. It's an ongoing practice of cultivating awareness, intention, and compassion in our lives.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's not about achieving some perfect state of detachment, but it's about continually striving to live with more presence and purpose.
Exactly.
So as we kind of wrap up this part of our deep dive, what are some like key takeaways you want our listeners to really hold on to?
I think the biggest takeaway is that detachment is not about suppressing our emotions or withdrawing from the world.
Right, right.
It's about finding that sense of inner freedom and peace that's not dependent on external circumstances.
Right.
And the beauty of it is it's accessible to all of us right here, right now.
I love that. We've covered so much in this Vedanta deep dive.
We have.
You know, from like understanding the basics to all those practical ways to actually live it. But I have a feeling like our journey's not over.
It's not. And that's what's so cool about these sources is that they don't just kind of like leave us hanging with a bunch of ideas that give us all these resources.
I was going to say, it's like they've handed us a map and said, go explore.
Totally.
So where do we go? What are some of the like resources that really stood out to you?
Okay, so we talked about some incredible books earlier, but there's one I wanted to add to the list. Vedanta, Voice of Freedom by Swami Vivekananda.
Oh, that name rings a bell.
Yeah, he was a key figure in bringing Vedanta to the West. Back in the late 19th century.
Right.
And he had this incredible way of making this ancient wisdom relevant to modern life.
Right.
And this particular book is like a compilation of his speeches and writings covering topics like self-reliance, the power of thought, and the importance of service to others.
That sounds really inspiring.
It is.
Especially for those of us trying to navigate like all the complexities of modern life.
Yeah, it's like he's building this bridge between those ancient teachings and the challenges we face today.
All right, Vedanta, Voice of Freedom. Officially going on the reading list.
Awesome.
What other books kind of jumped out at you from the sources?
There's one called The Heart of Awareness
Right.
And it's a translation of the Ashtavakra Gita.
Okay, the Ashtavakra Gita.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar, but remind me.
Yeah, so it's this ancient and profound text on self-realization.
Okay.
And this particular translation is known for being both, like
Okay.
poetic and accessible.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really beautiful exploration of the nature of the self.
Okay.
And the path to liberation.
Ooh, that sounds right up my alley.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else we should add to the bookshelf?
Okay. Last one for the books.
Okay.
How to Know God. The Yoga Aphorisms of Patanjali. And this one focuses on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras,
right,
which outline like the 8 limbs of yoga.
Okay.
But they also dive into concepts
Okay.
that really complement those Vedantic principles we've been talking about.
I love that they're suggesting resources that give us this like multifaceted perspective, you know?
Yeah.
It's not about getting stuck in one rigid system.
Exactly.
But it's about taking what resonates,
Yeah.
creating your own like tapestry of understanding.
For sure.
Okay, so we've got some book recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
What about podcasts? I'm always looking for new things to listen to.
Always. All right. So we touched on a few before.
Yeah.
But there were a couple more that stood out to me.
Okay.
First up is the Vedanta Society of Southern California. They have a fantastic podcast with a wide range of speakers and topics, all grounded in the teachings of Vedanta.
Ooh, that sounds right up our alley.
Variety and depth all in one.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, anything else?
There's another one called Living Vedanta, which I think you'd really appreciate.
Okay.
It's all about, well, living Vedanta.
Okay, I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah, it's about how to apply these teachings to the challenges and opportunities of modern life.
Practical application.
Yes.
That's what I'm all about.
Okay, good.
But, you know, sometimes it's not just about consuming information.
Yeah.
Right. It's about finding your people.
Yeah.
Finding that community.
Right.
Did they recommend any, like, online communities?
They did, yeah.
Okay.
They highlighted the Chinmaya mission,
okay,
which has centers and study groups all over the world.
Oh, wow.
And they offer a ton of resources.
Okay.
Talks, workshops, online courses, making Vedanta accessible to everyone.
I love that they're fostering that sense of community.
Yeah.
It's like instead of trying to figure it all out on your own, you've got this group of people who are on the same path,
totally
supporting each other.
Yeah, it's so important.
It is, but what about those of us who prefer like a more self-directed approach?
Right.
Any suggestions for like solo exploration?
Absolutely. They pointed to the Vedanta Institute, which offers online courses, lectures, even virtual retreats. So it's a great option for those who want to dive deep at their own pace.
It's amazing how many resources there are
I know.
for people who are interested in this path. Books, podcasts, communities, online courses. It's like there's something for everyone.
For everyone. And it really speaks to the growing interest in Vedanta.
Yeah.
It's not confined to ashrams and monasteries anymore.
Right.
It's finding its way into like our living rooms.
Totally.
Our headphones.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that really stood out to me from the sources was that call to action at the end.
Oh, yeah.
The answers you seek are closer than you think. Start your journey today. Yeah. It's like so empowering.
It is. It's a reminder that we don't have to wait
to
start incorporating these practices into our lives.
Right. The journey begins now.
Right now.
It can feel overwhelming to approach something as like vast as Vedanta.
Yeah.
But it really is about those small steps.
It is.
Those consistent efforts that over time can make a huge difference.
Totally. And it's a journey of self-discovery. Yeah. It's about finding what resonates with you.
Yeah. I love that.
And making it your own.
So to that point, we'd love to leave you with a final question.
Okay.
What one small practice from this deep dive feels most intriguing to you right now?
It could be starting your day with an intention.
Yeah.
Practicing gratitude, exploring one of those books or podcasts we talked about. Maybe just taking a few moments for quiet reflection.
Right.
What feels like a yes for you.
We encourage you to hold that question in your heart. See where it leads you.
Yeah.
Vedanta is a journey of a lifetime.
It is.
And we're so grateful that you joined us for this exploration.
Me too.
Until next time, keep seeking.
Keep learning.
And keep diving deep.
Yeah.